You're listening to the World's Team Podcast. It's not just America's team, Cowboys Nation. It's the world's team. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
How about them Cowboys?
What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the World's Team Podcast on the Believe Network, powered by FanJoe Sportsbook, the official betting partner of the Believe Network.
And as always, we're brought to you by Cowboys Experience, your one-stop shop for stadium tours, player meet and greets, tailgate parties, and much, much more. Book your next Cowboys game at cowboysexperience.com and use the booking code World's Team 2025. Get yourself a little extra savings.
Yep, and we've got a lot to unpack in this Cowboys and Rams preseason game. Liafau making plays, Milton's ups and down, night ending with an elbow injury, and yes, we've got a lot to talk about, Mike.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Yeah, so the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, they lost 31-21 against the LA Rams at SoFi Stadium. Obviously, it is a preseason game, but the thing is with preseason games, you're there to kind of find out where these other guys stand. Some of these players that you don't know so much about, they're going to make a really good impression. Some guys I thought they really did well, and we will talk about this. And some guys with more higher expectation didn't live up to what I was expecting. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll just emphasize what you're saying, that people put too much emphasis on results. Results, obviously, is ultimately what the team is playing for. But really what you want to be looking at is, at this stage, you're trying to find, the hidden gems on your roster, but also you're trying to see these guys that we've seen in training camp. How does that look now when the lights are brightest? Now you're in a game experience. Does that translate? What we're seeing translate into the game? You're looking at individual players and plays. They're only coming in for a short period of time, so they need to really make some sort of, they're trying to impress in some way with the limited snaps they have. Some, I mean, obviously not limited, but yeah, I'm with you there. It's not all about just the final result in preseason.
yeah, definitely. So I think the first thing we'll do then, we'll kind of break down the first half. And first thing that really kind of took us by, well, not surprise, it's actually not a surprise at all, as the Rams ran straight at Dallas with two quick touchdowns inside runs with poor leverage and couldn't shed blocks. So that was the most disappointing part.
Yeah, and what the real problem with that is, we watched the Rams practice on Wednesday. Me and you spoke about it on the UK Cowboys. We say the biggest issue is the run defense. But we're like, could it just be a momentary lapse sort of thing? Is there going to be an issue? But we go in, again, emphasizing players and plays. We see the issue of the run defense spill into an actual physical game. So that is something that it's a big issue. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for likes of Mazi Smith, which I was actually genuinely surprised to see featuring in the game, if I'm being honest, but when he was featured, he didn't really set the world on fire, and I hate to say this, he did basically got pancaked quite a fair bit in that game, but in some highlight though, I was actually quite impressed with Ernest Brown.
Okay.
I was quite impressed with him. So, in fact, is it Ernest Brown? Is that his name? Defensive tackle?
I believe so, yeah. The one you're on about.
Yeah, so he made a good couple of, his clubs were quite impressive. I thought he actually looked pretty decent. From the defensive end standpoint, we saw a lot of Donovan Izaraku. Didn't really get to the quarterback as much. We did get to see some of his speed, etc., which was really good to see. But other than that, our first half in terms of stopping a run was just really non-existent. The Rams just really took us apart in that regard, and because of that, Stetson Bennett actually freed himself up with the passing game.
Yeah, and that will be the issue. That will be the problem going into the regular season. Then it will be that players can, if they can run on you, they can bring out the play action, and from there it's kind of game over.
Yeah. Also, what happened in the game? Joe Milton went for 0 for 3 in the first drive. Nearly picked off. Passes were pretty much all fastballs. No touch. The first drive was a 3 and out, so it wasn't really the greatest start for Joe Milton and for his first game as a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, and one of the highlights at Oxnard at the moment has been Joe Milton's arm. These deep ball passes that you see in land in the corner of the end
We
zone.
did get to see that though. We did get to see it,
but what you're seeing is that although the arm power is there, the arm accuracy in terms of consistency is an issue.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily accuracy. It's the control of power. Like, it's basically
sling it as hard as I can. It's just full velocity.
Even for a short pass, that's it. It's like you're maybe running a seam route or a slant route, and you're getting an absolute nuclear rocket thrown at you. Like it's ridiculously it's impressive how he can throw it that well, but it's not ideal given on the type of situation, the type of pass that you need to throw. So Milton still has a lot to develop, and I was actually quite disappointed. Like, I would have thought by now he would have kind of like learned how to control his arm strength, so to speak, but it is what it is. Hopefully he can progress from that, but he did improve in the second half, and we will break into that later on. Okay. But I do want to highlight though, there was a good few defensive highlights I do want to mention, but it was actually, well, in fact, it's also special teams as well, and that's on Marist Liafau and Buddy Johnson. Both of those two guys I was actually quite impressed with.
Marist Liafau, definitely. Yeah, I mean, he was just seemingly everywhere on that field.
And he was commanding the defense, which I was really, we said that when he got drafted, we thought he had that type of leadership quality, like that in that way. Like, he's one of those guys, he's all about the film, all about the study of the game. And we're kind of seeing that. He's helping other players, getting themselves into position. And he's always there at the right time. So I was really impressed with Liafau from the short time he was on the field.
Yeah, commanding the defense, being that leader, which is what's needed in that group. But like we spoke about Liafau before, that he was making plays in Oxnard, and he was taking these progressive steps last year, getting progressively better, getting better. You come into this season, you're seeing that he's taking it back on, and he's progressing. So it's always positive. He's just on that positive incline the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I would say, and you'll probably agree with me on this one, Mike, the biggest frustration, and this goes back not even last year, but the year before and the year before, is offensive line penalties and just general discipline overall from the whole team. Like, we had a sideline infraction by CD Lamb, which was absolutely crazy, where he would walk in front of an official, which really would have been a even bigger gain. Like, we had to go back 15 yards because of that. The offensive holding, offsets from the O-line, I believe that was Shadid Charles, and there was one of our offensive linemen it was like 2 in a row.
Yeah.
He only just came to the team just literally a couple of days ago. And obviously there was as I mentioned, illegal formations, but it just seems like we haven't learned our lesson. I know this is just the first pre-game of the season. Mistakes are bound to happen. You've got new players coming in, but I don't know if it's just because we have that high expectation as Cowboys fans or whatever that may be, but it just kind of feels like there hasn't been an improvement in terms of that. So I just hope we manage to get that resolved when it comes to week 1.
Yeah, I think that will be the case. Yeah, this is just like the beginning. And you also think you're going to get guys like Guyton back to start the season. So things will just be a little bit more smoother, you'll think, on the offensive line. I know one thing that's for sure, because we've seen it in Oxnard, is discipline is something that Brian Schottenheimer really keys in on. And I can guarantee you this week he's going to be hounding them for the penalties.
Oh, I would hate to be in that film room
Yeah.
after that game. I really would, because obviously there'll be a lot to really digest and a lot to learn from this game. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said, there were some good things and there were some bad things in this game. But but going into the second half, though, Mike, Marino Cropper had a nice punt return at the start of and Phil Mafah kept moving the pile as well.
That's the player of the game for me, is Phil Mafah.
Yeah, Phil Mafah, I thought he was a really steady part of this offense, like especially in the inside run, especially.
Yes, exactly that. Which is kind of what was missing a little bit last season, because it's very much last season. It was a kind of like a tricky type of. It was an odd way that they were trying to go to the ground game last season. A guy like Mafah that you've seen, I know me and you spoke about him off air. He's not going to be the guy that's going to make those chunk plays, but he is going to be a guy who's just going to keep chipping away. And that's perfect for what the Cowboys need with what they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Milton had an interception, thrown it into double coverage to Ryan Flournoy in the end zone. I thought that was quite unfortunate, if I'll be perfectly honest. Like, I thought Flournoy had it, but it was actually but given it double coverage, deep ball, like it was a last chance saloon in that regard. But I thought it was quite unfortunate. But it's one of those ones, I think. But yeah, it's not going to do well for Milton's confidence in terms of that as well.
No. The only thing the positive I can get with that particular play that they were doing, the whole concept of that drive is it's a good learning experience. But if you want Milton to make those kind of mistakes and kind of not really get his ball placement right on that play, you want him to do that in preseason. So do it now. And get it out the way and learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, we've got Israel Mukuamu's big moment, Mike.
He was good. He was good.
Yeah, he was, I would say, was probably the best in the whole secondary. He caught the interception. He was very unlucky with a second interception. I think there was a clash between Harris, the linebacker, with the wide receiver, number 6. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
And the ball kind of tipped up in the air, and Mukuamu was there, but he just over committed. He was going, he didn't take that step back. And if he just took that wee step back, he would have just stood there and just catch the ball, and that would have been interception number 2. So that was quite unfortunate. But overall, Mukuamu, I thought he was the best player in the secondary in that game.
The only thing I will say, I agree, but for the secondary, he's definitely safety, though. He's not a cornerback.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. For people saying, oh, maybe we've got corner issues. No.
We'll just need to wait and see about that. See how. But I do want to mention, though, do you remember, I can't remember if it was on our show or it was on the UK Cowboys. Do you remember me talking about TJ Bass?
Yes, it was the UK Cowboys show. We was talking about him, and you said,
I told you he's going to be playing center. He was. I know. I'm not calling myself an offensive line guru, but I just knew they were going to do a bit of rotation between Hoffman and TJ Bass, and we got to see that.
Makes total sense, mind.
Yeah.
These are the type of games, especially the early preseason games, where you're trying to tinker around with things to find out what works and what doesn't on your roster.
Yeah, I think in terms of, if you were to grade the offensive line interior as a whole, with Hoffman, guard and center, I thought throughout the whole game, I thought they were relatively solid. I genuinely do believe that. There was obviously the sack to Joe Milton, but that was, I think that was Charles at right tackle. I can't remember who was playing at right tackle at the time, but basically it kind of made it really too easy for the defensive end for the Rams and got to Joe Milton relatively straightforward. Just really brushed them off, shed off the block as if it was nothing. So that was a bit disappointing. But going back to the defense, defensive issues continues. The Rams were 17-6 with another touchdown on the play action coverage bust by Shamar James, I thought. Yeah.
I mean, that's down to the run defense. You know, we're talking about the run defense. That brings in the play action. That's what you saw. That's the end result.
No, well, I don't think
Running,
so, Mike.
running easily.
Not in that play scenario. Like James, like because it's in red
I'm not
zone.
saying it's Shamar James's fault.
No,
I'm saying generally overall on the defense.
yeah. Like, was there something that James could have done better to improve his position? Yes, but because
I agree.
because you're in red zone, that you're
Tighter field.
You're much more limited amount of space. So if you were to move one direction, it's going to be a lot harder for you to track and catch up with the wide receiver or tight end or whatever not. So that's the problem with that one. So I think if given in that situation, I think you just need to kind of like let the play develop and then don't jump the gun early. And I think that's what Shamar did. He kind of went off to his left a little bit, and that's where it was like a cross route.
Yeah,
and the tight end or wide receiver, whoever it was, I can't remember who scored the touchdown, but basically it just left Shamar James like, oh crap, I need to track back, and it was already too late. He was already in the end zone, so that's excuse me, that was unfortunate. But in positive news, Joe Milton did manage to redeem himself. He did found Renaldo Fairweather for a touchdown, and John is it Josh Kelly?
Or was it John Kelly? I forget which one.
It was basically a 2-point conversion to Kelly, and we ended up being up to 24-14.
Yeah. I mean, Fairweather is a guy we spoke about. We quite liked Fairweather in the undrafted free agent market. And we said, like, this is one guy who is actually sneaky good. Whether he makes the roster based on what's ahead of him with Brent Spam-Ford, various other, the other type of guys who are trying to crack in there as well. Don't know, but he's a nice guy to have around.
Yeah, and to add more misery, the Rams scored another wide open touchdown, another play action, that made it 34-14. Then finally, we had a QB switch because Joe Milton leaves with an elbow issue.
Yeah.
Then Will Grier comes in and brings that little bit of mobility to the team. We actually got to see him scramble, and he actually scored a touchdown with it, which was I was quite impressed with Will Grier for the remaining 3 minutes of the game.
The limited time he had on, yeah. He wasn't bad, didn't make you like go, oh, but it was like, you were like, oh, he's come on, he's done his thing. Great. Okay, fantastic. Thumbs up.
Okay, so for the next segment, I'm going to mention so for me, Mike, the player spotlights for me is Marist Liafau, Phil Mafah, Mukuamu, and Malik Davis. That's the four, I think.
Okay.
Why I'm saying Malik Davis, because he only just joined the team, and we got to see that burst, that drive from a running back. We didn't really get to see that with Deuce Vaughn. Like, I think Deuce Vaughn had some good screen catches, but it just didn't manage to get upfield as he would like to. He was closed down so really, really quickly. Yeah. Whereas where I thought Malik Davis, he just came in like a bat out of hell.
It's slightly different with Malik Davis. What we're talking about there, you already attested to it. What was impressive? Okay, he was fine. He was on the field. He moved the ball. He looked fine, looked fluid. But what was most impressive is the fact that this dude is probably hasn't even unpacked his suitcase.
Probably.
And do you know what I mean? He's been with the team a day, and then all of a sudden he's on the field, suited up, playing a game, doing what he did. That is what's impressive. For me, though, you know when you talked about players spotlights, for me, it's Phil Mafah. Phil Mafah, in terms of a running back, he was my best. He's the best player for me in that game.
Yeah, for me, tough yards, forced the issue up the middle despite the penalties behind him by the offensive line. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that killed him, the penalties, yeah.
Yeah, for Marist Liafau, I thought he was fire throughout when he was on the field. He set the tone on special teams and on defense. I really enjoyed that. For Israel Mukuamu, he gets the pick, almost got another. So that to me was a good day.
Yeah, I we mentioned that Mukuamu, best cornerback of the day. the biggest takeaway is that he was great. He got involved, made his chances when he got them, took them. But as I say, the most significant thing that I see is that he's 100%. He's a safety. He is a pure safety.
We just need to see what Matt Elberfus has the plans for him. But I do agree. I do prefer Mukuamu as a safety. But I think maybe kind of given the fact that we're kind of strapped a little bit at corner, we might have to force him to play corner at some point. That's the only thing. I think that's why they played him there for some parts of the game, just to see where he is at. So, but I think from that perspective, I think he actually still did a decent shift despite that.
Yeah. And I will also say, right, I know most people aren't high on him, is Andrew Booth. He made mistakes in that game. But, like, one of the plays with the touchdown, it goes over him. I think he did everything right there. He was in the wide receiver's hip pocket. He was watching the receiver, watching his body movements to get to it. I think it was just a really good play by the offense, by the Rams. That for me was like, it wasn't so much Andrew Booth messing up. It was more the offense playing above. I know that's a controversial take.
I think you're giving him way too much credit in that. I'm not trying to diss Andrew Booth, but it's the fact that we're playing against the Rams backups. There's no Nakua, there's no Devante Adams, and I'll be honest, mate, I thought he got smoked at one point, big time. First half.
I'm not saying that he played a great game. For me, it was still
he still has a lot to prove.
Yeah, it was still, like, for me, generally overall a C- game from Booth. But that one particular play where he's getting where most fans are hounding him, I think it's a little bit unfair. But in the flip side of what you're saying, I agree. It's against a third string team, and like you've seen in Oxnard that he looked better. Like you're like going, okay, maybe there's something here. He's getting a little better. He's figuring things out. And then you go on the field and you see some of the, not just that play in particular, but the other issues. And you go, maybe we were premature there then.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. So give me 3 positives and 3 fixes that we need to do for the Dallas Cowboys.
Positives is, so, I mean, I don't know if you want to do, if I do one and you do one and whichever way you want to do it. But yeah, Mafah for me. Yeah, Phil Mafah. Running back, running the ball is a priority for this offense. It's a concern for most fans, but Mafah went out there and said, it's okay, I've got this. So that should give fans confidence. That should be a huge positive going into Oxnard this week and into the next preseason game.
Yeah, I think this game kind of helps, like, Brian Schottenheimer. Like, and the one thing that we struggled last year was red zone.
Yeah.
The fact that we've got that utility guy for red zone to really ram it down the middle of the offensive.
The hammer.
Yeah, like we've got that now. Like we didn't get to see too much of that, but at least we know we got to see a glimpse of that. And if he can continue on and progress like within the roster, great. I think we'll be okay there. Like it's just a matter of us getting into the red zone. That's the thing. So another positive I would say was probably Marist Liafau, like for me.
Yeah.
Like and Buddy Johnson. I'm gonna say it. I was really impressed with Buddy. I was really impressed with Buddy Johnson in that game.
Yeah. Oh, I got a nice positive here. Going for one is Brandon Aubrey didn't miss a kick.
There we go. Yeah, that's
2 for 2 on the field goals. 2 for 2 on the extra points.
Yeah, that's what you would expect from your Pro Bowl kicker. That's for sure.
There we go.
All right, Mike, the big one, fixes. What does the Cowboys need to fix?
Okay, the most obvious one is the run defense. I think that's really obvious at this stage that still needs work. Toia and the other inside guys were okay in sprinkles, but they left gaps.
Yeah, Toia was okay. Mazzy is a concern. Mazzy is a massive concern.
especially he's in the third year here.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about Mazzy Smith right now. Toia did show some good glimpses in there. He did get pancaked at one point in the second half. I was quite intrigued by Ernest, like with his ability to shed off blocks. I was quite impressed with that. But yeah, in terms of the edge, we didn't really put much of a pressure onto Stetson Bennett throughout the whole game, even with Donovan Izaraku in there. So I was quite. But again, like these guys are really trying to make it into the roster. I think maybe the next preseason game. Oh, I can't even say it. Preseason game, we might actually get to see that happen a bit more with more the second rotation guys getting some game time as the season is about to start.
We will. You should expect to see more in the second game. So if you remember that when we used to have 4 preseason, we've got 3 now. But when it used to be 4, that third preseason game was always called the dress rehearsal. Now we're down to 3 games. That second game has now become the sort of the dress rehearsal, and the third game is the one where you play all your down roster guys and you see what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we should theoretically, unless Schottenheimer's trying to play some cards close to his chest and not give too much away. That's what you would expect in the second game here.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's pretty much the end of the show. I mean, if you were to kind of grade the overall game, Mike, how would you grade it? Like, we can talk about grading players. We may have different, but we could go on for hours on this. But if I was to grade the overall game, what would you give it?
It's a lot of positives. Like, it's put my mind at ease with the running backs. Same with the linebackers. Interesting to see what Mukuamu done. Defensive line scares me, so that's like a D minus. Issues at backup quarterback. Wide receivers totally fine with. Cornerback is an issue still, so I would probably say a C plus.
Yeah, I'm on the edge between a C and a C plus. You kind of highlighted the problems with Joe Milton, like not having the control of throwing the football. It's just always a fastball. Like I was impressed with what we did with the running back situation with Mafah, Malik Davis. We did see some glimpse of Deuce Vaughn. Wide receiver wise, I think some of the, like in certain plays, some of them really did stand out. Jonathan Brooks really stood out. Mingo as well.
Yeah,
I can't believe we'd even talk about Jonathan Mingo. He just, but yeah. So he stood out as well. But yeah. I'm gonna go overall, C plus for me. But yes, folks. But if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on YouTube, please let us know. I'm stuttering like hell today, Mike. I'm tired. I watched the game till. This is what tiredness does to you when you try and watch the game up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's the issue. Like both of us here are flagging and flaking, and people in the States will be like, "What's wrong with these pair?" And it's like, expect a lot of this in the season.
A lot of stuttering, a lot of misgaps in our speech. Yeah,
and sounding like we're drunk, although we're not. It's exhaustion. And like you think when the regular season comes on, I know a bit yourself, but for me it is. I stay up all night on Saturday watching college football, and then that wrecks me into the Sunday trying to watch the Cowboys when they're on like a late game, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: at least we didn't finish the game by 30. We finished the game by 10 points.
Yeah,
that's some way of a positive in that way. And again, it's only preseason. Like it's all about finding out who's going to make this roster.
It's a fact-finding mission. This
exactly. So, like, don't be too upset. Like, if we all remember, the last time we ever won a opening preseason game, I think it was way back in 2017. I believe that's when is the last time we won our first preseason game. So take it with a pinch of salt, folks. As long as it's not a regular season game, it doesn't matter.
You're wanting to get out of preseason, especially with what's happened with the roster in Oxnard. You're trying to get out of it with very little injuries, especially to your starters.
Absolutely. And just to add a wee side note as well, if I remember correctly, I think this was the year where the Panthers went to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton. They were 0-4 in preseason.
Yeah.
So just letting people know, you know. But yeah, folks, that is the end of this show. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the World's Team. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, X, all the above. Be sure to go and follow us on our podcast stations on Apple and Spotify. And but yeah, before we do go, Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Blogging the Boys or on Twitter or X at Kenfig Cowboy. That's Kenfig. That's Kenfig with a K, Cowboy with a K, and you, Mr. P.
You can find me at I am P-Stu on X and Instagram. Like I said, we're stuttering right here, folks. We're a little bit sleep deprived because we stayed up to watch the game and try and like break it down as much as we could. But yeah, be sure to check back in during the week as we'll be covering more of training camp and obviously with the next preseason game, we'll be covering that as well. But yeah, folks, thanks for swinging by. We hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And as always here on the World's Team, it's not just America's team, it is the World's Team. We'll see you guys next time.
That's a wrap on the World's Team Podcast. Smash that like button and hit subscribe, Cowboys Nation. This ain't just America's team, it's your team.
Touchdown!
It's the World's Team, only on Believe, where real fans live.
How about them Cowboys?